for the Hustler Mindset Project today. This is the best way to get access to my products, my training, my insights, and even me for the best value possible. All right, this happened and I saw it late last night. Someone bought a unit, and apparently, this is the story. This is the story. I don't believe the story, but this is the story. The unit was sold, and after the auction was over, later on that evening, the buyer of the unit gets this call. Hey, we couldn't sell the unit. The payment was in the Dropbox. Okay, I don't work at a storage facility, but I do know that on top of its storage auction people, that being the manager, the property manager, the day of auction, they check that payment box. That's one of the first things they do. They don't do that later in the day. They do it in the first thing. Also, I have been in a situation where a customer made payment after the auction was over, and the auction place said, we sold it, it's done, there's nothing we can do. You can contact the buyer. I'm going to tell you how I used to do it. Essentially, I think my friend here, he's in my reseller group on Facebook. I think he's getting screwed. There's something that went on. It was a good unit, and he took a few things out. But the problem is the bulk of the unit is still on their property. That's where everything is just jacked up. I've had units where they've played that on me, but the unit was in my possession. Every bit of it, it was on my property, and this is where you're going to have to make some decisions, because typically, I'll give you all the bad stuff that can happen. You don't get the unit back, they cannot sue you, they cannot put you in jail because you went through a legal auction. You bought it fair and square. It's on them. They made the mistake, and they're going to have to settle up with the tenant. So really, you don't have to worry about that. But if you want to be equitable and fair, you can sell the unit back to them. They're going to ask for the unit back for the price that you bought it, which actually is a loss for you. A loss of your money, loss of the units that you could have bought with that money, loss of your time, loss of profit, loss, all the way around. But they don't care, and they're going to come at you like, hey, do the right thing. Fuck them. So this is how you do it. If the unit is in their possession, you can still possibly win depending upon you, how you proceed, how fast you move, and how much noise you make. But I've never been in that situation because I've always had the unit off the property. That was one of the biggest things. That's one of the reasons I got the warehouse, so I can always get the unit off the property and get it into my sales channel, because frequently it's going to be the nice units, the good units, that this shit always seems to happen. It's always something super nice that this happens. It never happened to me on a garbage unit except for the voodoo unit, the voodoo. And really, it wasn't even a garbage unit for what I paid for it. But essentially, when you're dealing with this stuff, you have to really have your best interest first and foremost, because they're going to fuck you. Straight up, they're going to fuck you, because let me tell you what they're facing. If they made a mistake and the customer knows the laws and the customer comes after them, they can lose $25,000 up to $250,000. Because they didn't follow the law and they made mistakes. And that leaves you out the loop because you didn't do anything wrong. And people are going to tell you, because you've got your receipt, you got the unit off the property, you're out the mix. But if you want to go into those muddy waters, because I've learned very rarely are you going to get what you can get for the unit from them, unless they are just really in a bad situation or they're dealing with someone they know that's going to bring the pain. So when you go to them, give you two scenarios. If the unit's still on their property, you have to move fast, really fast. You cannot waste any time. And you have to talk to them. I got a receipt. You go ahead to the police department. The police department cannot get involved per se to do anything, but you can file a report that lets you know that you took action on that date. Gives you a record, gives you third-party verification that you did something. Hiring attorneys is expensive. It's like, hey, I'm going to get an attorney. Unless you got one in the family or you got a friend who owes you a favor, that can be daunting. But you can do a lawsuit in small claims. But this is a process. It takes time and, just letting you know. But essentially tell them, hey, I bought the unit. I got a receipt. It's my unit. And you hold your ground and something good may happen. And they may throw you a little cheese, and they may just say, hey, we're going to roll the dice and see if this fool sues. But essentially, that right there is pretty much it, because this is what they're going to do. One, you go back to the unit, try to get out. If they made a mistake, they're going to cut your lock off and put their lock back on. So at that point, you were screwed. And also, a lot of times, they're not going to want to pay you in cash. Because number one, they're not going to have on it, this is a company, they don't deal with cash. They're going to want to write you a check. And if it's a large company, they may have to go up to corporate, then someone has to sign. So it could take literally weeks. That happened to me once. It happened to me once. Because I'm like, wait a minute. I did all this stuff and they wrote me a fucking check and it took them 6 weeks to get me their money back. Yes. That's why I'm being so, enthusiastic about what you need to do to protect your interests, because they don't give a damn. So that's pretty much what you have your options if the unit is still on their property. If the unit's still on their property, it's very tricky, and chances of you winning are slim to none. Unless, I'm not saying it's impossible, but the cards are not in your hand. The cards are not even, they have all the cards on that one, because they still have possession of the unit. They can still block your access of the unit. Now let's talk about the unit is not on the property. You bought it, you move it, a whole new set of elements come into play. Number one, they got to come to you. They may bark like a little dog, but at this point, you have the receipt, you have the unit, you're in charge. You can just like, hey, this is what I estimated that I was going to make on the unit. I didn't do anything wrong. And understand, you do this, chances of you getting banned from their auctions are very great. But this is what I feel that you owe me. I will sell the unit back to you, but this is what I need. A lot of times they will. Just depends on what it is. I've pulled that one. And the thing is, I'm not happy that this happened to the person, but I am like just kind of just blown away by many things that I talked about 3 years ago, 2 years ago, for our stuff's coming and starting to happen to people all over the place. There's a ton of videos here, but I guarantee you, virtually everything that you've run into or seen, it's in the video somewhere on this channel. But essentially, you have all the power in that situation, and really it's just a matter of you're going to exercise that power or not. That's pretty much it, because there's going to be a risk, because they're going to get pissed. They're going to get a case of the ass because you didn't give them the unit back. But that's your deal. You can make it, go ahead and get stuff appraised. And also, understand, and under no circumstances do you allow the tenant to come get the unit from your possession, because, emotionally, you don't know where they are. This is your deal. And you're just like, okay, I want this. I want what expected value of what I was going to get for selling it. I want a transportation fee. And also, you send this in an email and you get it in writing that they're going to agree to your terms. Verbal agreements do mean something in court if you have it recorded, but a written agreement is always better. Make sure, spell out your terms, email it, have them notarize it, and mail it back to you. You want a hard copy. You want a hard copy from someone who can authorize it, which is usually going to be the district manager or the guy above him. Once you get that, then you're good. But understand, this is going to happen. I want you to think about something. When I was in the game, 2000, 2009, that essentially those were, except 2006, my business actually increased on the used side, but new stuff actually was taking a hit. But most of my time, I was in the game when the economy was great. And this is the stuff that I was getting. So I can only imagine what people are losing now. The foreclosure thing is still going on. It's not as aggressive as it was, but understand, even in good times, people are losing houses. That's always going to be a part of life in this economy. So I can only imagine the killer, outstanding units that people are coming across who can get exposed to this type of stuff. So protect yourself. Know what you're dealing with, and know that if you got a killer unit, get that bad boy off of their property as fast as possible, or rent a unit on their property and put that stuff in that unit that you have a contract with. They can't just break into your unit that you have a rental contract with them. Strange but true. I've done that one too. All right, this is Glendon, and I'll see you